Hey, it's Dave. Today I'm going to talk about Gibson's lawsuit to Dean, and then I'm also going to discuss a little bit about why Fender struggles to be relevant. So if you've been living in a cave and you don't have any internet or TV, you don't know that Gibson is suing Dean. Now, before I even get started in my rant about this, I just want to say I'm not an attorney. However, I have worked for guitar companies and been involved with them who have been through similar actions. Anyway, what's going on here is Gibson suing them for, they went actually for quite a few things, not just trademark, but dilution and counterfeiting. Before I even want to say anything on it, I basically would say that the defense is probably going to just file what's called laches, which is that you've slept on it. The defendant has spent X amount of dollars over the years promoting this product, and you did nothing, as Gibson did nothing to protect the trademark, and they really don't have a case. In fact, I would file to have that dismissed on laches. Now, when I when I first saw the suit, I didn't know really much about Hummingbird, and when the Fauna Hummingbird came out from Luna Guitars. And then I saw a video on YouTube dated back to 2011, which that would be at the latest that would have come out. In other words, it could have come out earlier than that. So we're talking something about 8 years. And again, I would file laches because 8 years is not amount of time that you can say is a fair amount of time to have someone, do that with your trademark. Now, you could say they filed a cease and desist in 2017. That's 6 years. I still think that's a little too long. Anyway, the other problem that they run into with the Dean stuff, being the Explorer, the Flying V, is they didn't protect their trademark against anybody else. So now the trademark becomes generic. In fact, I don't even want to say that part can't even be trademarked. So they don't even have a claim to the body. They only have a claim to really the headstock, which has the logo, and the shape around the logo, which would then be considered the trade dress. And the trade dress would be, like I mentioned before, the Coca-Cola bottle. The problem that Gibson has is, they have to prove that there'd be confusion at the point of sale, in the marketplace. And I could look at both of those and tell you right away without having to see the logo, Dean, Gibson. Now, I might be a little different because I was a Dean dealer and a Gibson dealer. However, when you're in the store, it also has the big logo on it, and Gibson doesn't have those giant wings that are on it. And, we're talking about instruments that are made over years. So I watched a couple of people rant about it. The only reason why I wanted to make this video was because so many people are ranting about it that don't really know anything. And I watched Trogley, and Trogley's like, yeah, this is kind of like that. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not, and 40 years is not an appropriate amount of time to let lapse. I don't even think 6 years is. I don't even think 3 years is. So it's just whatever the court thinks. And like I said, I would file most of that as a dismissal. And the one that you're going to have to where you may have to fight it would be the Fauna Hummingbird. And if they don't dismiss it on laches, that might be a fight. That would be, and then would it be confusion in the marketplace and all that? And I still don't think Dean would lose. So, and I have nothing against Gibson personally. This is not my espousing any anger or bias against them. I merely just think that it's a silly suit, and courts don't really like this kind of thing. And Gibson does have a history of being ultra litigious. And I know if I were a judge, or if I knew of a judge, that would be like, yeah, they haven't done anything for 40 years to secure that trademark. Or I keep saying trademark, but the body shape of the Flying V isn't trademarked. Is it identifiable? I would say it's generic. It's become generic. Yes, Gibson made it up, but Jackson, Hamer, Aria Pro 2, Ibanez, well, they had the Destroyer, which was like the Explorer. So, I mean, everyone's making these guitars. They become generic because you didn't protect them back in the day. Now, Gibson, over the years, people talk about, like, well, what about the Ibanez lawsuits? Well, the Ibanez lawsuits was about the headstock. Then Ibanez stopped because they were trying to come up with their own brand. But anyways, as far as the Gibson lawsuit goes, I think that they don't have a case to stand on. They don't have a leg to stand on. It'll be interesting to see how Dean answers. The only other interesting thing is people say, well, they put it to Texas, and I don't know why they did, and I might have something to do with the dilution of the trademark. Certain states have different laws and different penalties, and they probably went to a place where it seemed the most extreme. That's my guess. My prediction, there might be a fight on the Fauna Hummingbird. That might actually go to some sort of a trial. That has the biggest chance. Again, 6 years before cease and desist, I would say Latches. My opinion. Next. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on TV. No. Just kidding. Anyways, moving forward, let's talk about Fender. So Fender has come out with this Vintera series, which is kind of like they're making vintage instruments and vintage modified instruments out of Mexico. They always try to come out with a new product, and it's always the same crap. And it's a very frustrating thing. So what they've done is they've come out with a 50s guitar and a 60s guitar, a Strat. And we have your 7 1/4 radius on the non-modified version. Basically, like a vintage style instrument with a gig bag for $1,000 street price. Small frets. Basically, you could have gotten this in a road one years ago for hundreds less, and it would have been much nicer. However, this is their new thing, and now it's like, and then we have the modified, which on the 50s takes out the V-neck, which I don't know why they would get rid of the V-neck for the modified, and then because they don't have enough slim C-necks, is that what it is? And then they made it a 9 1/2 radius neck. Again, this is like nothing new or exciting. It's just more of the same garbage. They've basically come out with Strats, Tellys, Jazzmasters, P-Bass, Jazz Bass. There's nothing new about this. So you've just now added like all these different model Strats and Tellys and all just that are more of the same. There's nothing new or exciting. They already have a Mexican Strat. It already has a 9 1/2 radius. What does this differ from the original? Better vintage style tuners? Then put the vintage tuners on the Mexican one. You don't need 900 models of the same thing. And then the problem is they don't have an instrument that would be like a real modern instrument, or something that's made with anything somebody wants. For instance, I bought this in 2009. This was a Deluxe V Strat. It came with an awful orange copper-looking plastic pickguard. It had the S1 switching system, which I couldn't get out of the guitar fast enough. It had the horrible, horrible soft medium jumbo frets that they throw on everything. It only had one string tree. So, added a string tree. Jumbo stainless steel frets. DiMarzio area pickups, 54, 58 and a 58. Regular, just normal wiring. However, treble bleed. Modern trem. This thing with about maybe 800 bucks of upgrades becomes a monster, becomes something that Fender won't make. And Fender could make these things. They could make a guitar that has stainless frets, a flatter radius, even a compound radius. They could make something cool and different, but they don't want to. They just have every different kind of vanilla there is. I can't even buy a neck from Fender. What Fender has done with their company has driven me, because this was like really the last Fender that I bought. After that, I bought a Fender on Craigslist that you've seen. If you go to my guitars video, you could see I bought a Mexican Strat. I bought a Wenge neck with an ebony fingerboard from Warmouth with a big V Clapton neck, stainless jumbo frets. And then I had a little scalloping done, which is, again, is something that you could do. I had a Warmouth built. I bought it all from Warmouth. I made it similar. In fact, let me show you that. Okay, so unhappy with what's available on the market and not wanting to spend $2,000 to $4,000 for a guitar, I went to Warmouth and had this made. Now, I get a lot of questions about this guitar a lot. One of which is, why did I put a Fender logo on it? Because I love the Dan Smith logo, and that's what I wanted to make, was the perfect guitar for me. If I could have the perfect Strat, what would it be? And it would be a Strat, because that's who the design is. I get a kick when I see like Nash guitars and they have the exact headstock and it says Nash, and I'm just like, it's a Strat. You're basically, I mean, you're even paying for the license to use this. I mean, when I bought the neck from Warmouth, I had to pay whatever extra, what it's in their cost, but they pay Fender for this shape, and I'm putting their logo on it. It's their guitar. So, it is a big, fat V-neck, boat neck, with an ebony fingerboard that I had. You can see the little scalloping here for when I have to go high and I can just grab it. 54, 58, and 58 on the pickups, DiMarzio areas. Same thing with a treble bleed. I have a switch that turns the neck pickup on. 2-point modern trem. And I would put in stainless steel jumbo frets, clay dots. I would put this guitar up against any guitar that Fender's making today. And with a case, a tweed case that I got, the whole thing cost me $1,400. Now, obviously, you could see what I did was I love the International Series Strat that has the yellow body, white pickguard, black pickups and knobs. I put an ebony fingerboard on it instead of the maple that usually comes with it, and I hate the big headstock, so I put a 50s headstock with the big logo, which I love. Vintage style tuners. And this guitar, you've seen, I use it in my video where I do the Kid Charlemagne solo and other ones. It's great. So why can't Fender make this for me? Because Fender is basically just making a very narrow window of what they do. And they don't really have their thumb on the pulse. They don't really know what's going on in the business. It's sad. But what they are doing is they're opening the door for companies like G&L, because you can go get a custom-made G&L still under $2,000, right around $2,000. And they'll make it for you, and it's beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. It's a great guitar. And Sir makes a great guitar if you want to spend even more money. There are so many Strat style makers out there making the guitar, and Fender's not even paying attention to what they're doing. They have so many guitars that are in the same exact category of middle of the road vanilla, the same feature sets. Everything has the same damn feature sets. They never offer anything different. And you could have so many different things and run a much tighter company. And, so I get a kick when I see like Fender's come up with a new product. It's never anything I give a shit about. And they've lost me. And I'm a Fender guy. I love Fender Strats and I love those guitars. Now, I made a comment the other day that I don't care for the vintage shit. I don't. And I don't think, and someone was like, oh, I own several, and, the wood is green on newer ones. Shut up. Just shut up. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You can't tell me when Hendrix was playing his guitar, it was a year or two old or a year old when he bought a 69 and 69. You can't hear a difference of what's going on with the wood. It doesn't matter. In the vintage market, you have people paying $25,000 for a 60s Strat, like a 61. It's nuts. This guitar cost me $1,400. Again, if I'm going on stage, I'm playing this over anything. Oh, and the radius is that like 10 to 16. It's phenomenal. It's unbelievable feeling. And I hate the 7 1/4. And I love some people like, I play high action and I like a 7 1/4. Good for you. The whole point I'm trying to make is that you need variety. Everybody likes something different. But I don't need to hear from the heroes who tug on their suspenders and go, and I use heavy strings because Stevie Ray Vaughan does. Well, aren't you effing great? Well, Billy Gibbons uses 7s, and I don't give a shit about that either. It's just unbelievable. But if I have any advice to Fender, it's figure out what the fuck is going on in the business and wake the Christ up. Get involved and get out there and make guitars that are modern and stick to your vintage horse shit if you want. But it's just all like, let's see, we got vanilla, French vanilla, vanilla bean. It's like everything is like just so middle of the road and nothing. And of course, when you bitch this to them, they're like, oh, well, you can go call the customer shop. Oh, thanks, you're going to let me spend $4,000? Aren't you guys wonderful? Yeah. Anyways, not excited about the Vintera series. Same old crap. Thanks for remaking the Mexican Stratocaster and putting an effing $1,000 price tag on it. Thank you so much for that. I was wondering why I was paying so little for them. Thanks for raising that price and trying to make it exciting by calling it Vintera. And then maybe if you're lucky, you become famous and you can auction your Stratocaster through Christie's and all your other guitars, earn $21 million, and donate it to a climate change charity. Very good.